This is your Graphing Rational Numbers notes review. Mr. Griffin asked his students to place the following numbers on both the number lines below. So we've got point A, B, C, and D. And you can see these two different number lines. Horizontal number lines going left and right. After completing the activity, the students disagreed whether it was correct because they looked very different. Was this task completed correctly? Justify your thinking. Well, let's check it out. A says negative 1.5. That's right in the middle between negative 1 and negative 2. If we look at the second number line, it's also right in the middle in between negative 1 and negative 2. B, 3/4. So it should be before 1. There it is. Looks pretty good. Same thing on the second line. There's that halfway mark. So that would be 2/4. 3/4 looks perfect. C is 5/3. 5/3 is the same thing as 1 and 2/3, which is 1.66 repeating. Okay, so let's see. C, does it look closer to 2? Yep, still in between 1 and 2, but closer. Here's that 1.5 mark, and then there's 1.6. I think that's great. And D, negative 0.75. So it should be between 0 and negative 1, and it should be closer to negative 1. That looks great. And that looks great, because there's the negative 0.50. So that would be negative 0.75. So was this task completed correctly? Yes. The different scales on the number lines are what make it appear to be plotted in different locations. You can see that in the top number line, we're just counting by ones. But on the second number line, you can see we're counting by halves. So it's a little bit more zoomed in, more precise. It's easier to see where they are. Okay, so was it completed correctly? Yes. They have different scales. Go ahead and pause for everyone to finish writing this down. All right, scale vocabulary. The scale is the number by which the axes are marked. The values being graphed can determine the appropriate scale to better represent the ordered pairs. Let's say that we were going to figure out, we sold 500 tickets. Well, you wouldn't make a graph counting by ones all the way up to 500. You would maybe make a graph counting by 50s or 100s so that we could see everything in a nice small graph. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at. Number 1, use the coordinate plane at the right to estimate the missing values in the table. Plot any missing points. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is look at my graph and find my origin, 0, 0, and then look at my scale. I see there's a blank spot and then a 1. So that means our scale is going up by 1/2 or 0.5s. Okay. So, point A, I'm going to start at my origin, and I'm going to go 1 unit to the right, and I'm going to go 1 unit up, and then 1.5, and in between 1.5 and 2, you should see 1.75 or 1 3/4. I'm okay if you put the fraction or the decimal for the y. Okay, you just pick which one you want to put, whether it's the fraction or the decimal. Point B says -2, -3.5. So I'm going to go left 2 and down to -3.5. That's where point B should be. C, we have to figure out where it is. So I start at 0, 0, and I'm going to go right. Oh, looks like it's at 2.5, right in the middle between 2 and 3. And put 2.5. Now I have to go down, so it's going to be a negative. And I went down 1/2, 1. Ooh, I'm right in the middle in between 1 and 1.5. Well, think about it. What's in the middle of $1 and $1.50? What's in the middle? Negative 1.25. Okay, if you're doing fractions, you should have 2.5, negative 1 1/4. I'm cool with decimals or fractions. D, start at 0, 0, go left to -3, and then we go up to that first line, which is 1/2, or 0.5, whichever one you like. And then point E is 3.75 to the right and up 1.5. So E should be right there. Because I'm in the middle of 3 and 4, I have 3.5. $3.50, so $3.75 has to be that halfway point. That's why it's right in the middle. Okay, so now we've got a couple questions to answer based off our graph. Part A. Which of the points on the coordinate plane satisfy the conditions where x is less than 2 and y is less than 1? Alright, let me make this a little smaller and change colors. So for x to be less than 2, that means we have to be in this area of the graph. You don't have to color this in. Don't color this in right now. Just watch me. Okay, so we have to be there. But then for y to be less than 1, that means it has to be everything lower than that. So what 2 points do you see on the graph that are in my red and green area? You should see points B and D. Now, I'm going to erase this really fast. So that I can remake my squiggles. Alright, so we said that was B and D. Now we've got a second example. Part B. Which of the points on the coordinate plane satisfy the conditions where x is greater than -1? Okay, x has to be greater than -1, which means all my x values have to be this way. And where y is less than 1. So y has to be smaller than 1. So that's going to be in this area. So we have to find the point where it's green and purple. And you should see that it's only 1 point. It's point C. Everybody put a C. Alright, moving on. Flip the paper. Number 2. Luke is given the following numbers to plot on the coordinate plane. What should his coordinate plane extend from? By what scale should the appropriate plane count? Use the blank graph at the right to help. Okay, well, let's look at these 4 points. 18, 6. Right up. -16, -5. 8, 12, and 15, 4. I'm looking at these big numbers, like 18, -16, 15. Like, our graph isn't that big if we only count by ones. Okay. So I would say we could either count by 2s or 3s. And then plot our points. So let's count by 3s. Scale of 3. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And now, is it going to let me scroll? Yes. First point, 18, 6. If my scale's going up by 3s, that means 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And then going up by 3s, 3, 6. So 18, 6 should be right there. My second point is -16, -5. So -3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Okay, I'm between those last 2 purple dots that I drew, but I'm closer to this one. So -16, -3, -5. I would say my best guess is somewhere around right there. -16, -5. 8, 12. 3, 6, 9. Okay. So 8's probably around right there. And we're going to go up 3, 6, 9, 12. I'm going to say right around there. We should have 8, 12. And last but not least, 15, 4. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And then 3 should be right above that first line right there. And I'm going to label it 15, 4. Okay, so you could label your X and Y axis and do like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Now obviously these would be the negatives on this side. And then up 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And the downs will be our negatives. Alright, number 3. Kiana and Hope were asked to determine a scale for the ordered pairs listed below. Explain the difference and justify which group you would prefer to use. Okay, so here's our 4 ordered pairs. 1.5, 4, -2.5, -1, 0.5, -3.5, and -1, 2. So we can see, looking at Keanu's graph, that we have our origin, and then his scale's going up by 1/2. Okay? every block that we go up by 0.5. So 1/2 or 0.5. And on Hope's graph, every block is 1. Okay, so the scale of 1 for Hope's. So you can see that we're almost like a little bit more zoomed in on Keanu's graph, where it's easier to see, oh, we're in between 2 and 3. That's definitely negative 2.5. But on Hope's graph, you can see counting by ones. We're like, oh, that dot takes up a lot of space. I don't know where it really is. And you have to make a lot of guesses. Okay? So in this example, Keanu's graph shows a smaller amount of space. And so the points are a little bit better spotted. So let's see. I would say let's pick his graph, and he uses a smaller scale to see points better. Go ahead and pause to write that down. All right, 2 more problems. Number 4, graph and label the ordered pairs on the coordinate plane. Okay, I gotta zoom out. All right, letter I, -2, -3.5. We can see that our scale is going up by 1s. Okay, every block is a 1. So halfway would be our 0.5s. So -2 to the left and -3.5 down. So -3 and then halfway further, that's going to be letter I. J, 3/2, comma 2 3/4. 3/2, everybody write down as 1.5. So it's really 1.5 and 2 3/4. So I'm going to go for my origin, 1.5 to the right, and then 2, and about 75% of the way up towards 3. So you should see point J right there. K says -5/2 and 2. -5/2 is really -2.5. Write that down. So it's really just -2.5, comma 2. So -2.5 goes in between -2 and -3. And then we go up 2 spots. And that's where I should see K. And then L is 3, -3/2. -3/2 is really -1 1/2. Write that down. So L, I'm going to go 3 spots to the left and -1 and halfway down further. And you should see L. Make sure you have everything written down that I asked. Plot all your points and label your letters. All right, number 5. Determine the ordered pair that best represents each point. So we've got W, X, Y, and Z. I can see that every block is 0.5. So 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2. Same thing going up. 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2. All right, so looking at W, I'm going to go 1.5 units to the right. And then I'm going to go 0.75 units up, because I'm in between 50 cents and $1. I'm in between 1/2 and 1 whole. X. So that's -0.5. So this is -0.75. So -0.75. And I'm going to go down to negative 1.25. Negative 1.25. Okay, because there's negative 1. And then here would be negative 1.5. And we're right in the middle. So in between $1, negative $1, and negative $1.50 is negative $1.25. Y 0.75, because it's in between 1/2 and 1. And we're going to go up 1.5. And then Z, we're going to go left, negative 1.25. And then we're going to go down negative 0.75. And that's it.